In my recent review of the DJI Osmo Action 3, some of the footage looked really good and it looked crisp and it looked sharp when there was lots of sunlight and even sometimes when it was a bit overcast. But then in other scenarios, even the footage that was shot when it was really bright looked quite mushy. And this is a problem that a lot of people have had. And so one of the things I wanted to do was do a few tests to see whether certain fields of view or the stabilization has anything to do with it, even though I'm not trying to make excuses for poor quality, but I just wanted to see if there's anything in those settings that would make a difference. So in this video, I'm going to do a few tests with field of view and image stabilization, and then also using a gimbal. And if you want to kind of skip the tests that I'm about to show you, then you can use the chapters in the description and just go straight through to the result of what I've kind of found out and the best things that you can do in the meantime until potentially DJI fix any of these focusing issues. So the first thing that I noticed was that if you shoot in the standard field of view, it's going to give you lower quality than if you shoot in the wide or super wide field of view. And it's actually quite noticeable when you look closely at it. The other thing that I noticed was that image stabilization also gives you a lower quality image. So if you have rock steady or horizon balancing on, it's going to give you lower quality than if you were to switch image stabilization off, and this is probably due to the fact that rocksteady and horizon balancing actually crop in, so that's potentially why that's happening. It's also worth mentioning that the minimum focusing distance is 30 centimeters, so 0.3 meters, and even though I was pretty much doing this throughout the review video, because I was holding my arm out quite far, that's why I did this test, to see whether that also made a difference to maybe I was not doing that in my review. It's also worth noting that in my review video, a lot of the footage that I shot was in the standard field of view, and the reason that I tend to use that is because I want the minimum amount of distortion. With all that said, I only really got the softness sometimes, and only when I was really close in the frame. When I was shooting my B-roll, the soft look wasn't really an issue, nor when I was out on my paddle board. So even though the minimum focusing distance is 30 centimeters, it actually seems quite inaccurate. And it seems that you need a lot more than 30 centimeters to get decent looking, crisper footage, because the footage was a lot better when I was holding the Action 3 out further in front of me. To just get a bit more distance, I'll most likely use my Insta360 selfie stick because it extends out to 120 centimeters. However, because I noticed such a difference in quality with the Rocksteady and Horizon balancing on versus it being off, I'm likely just going to turn stabilization off completely and just use a gimbal. And even though the gimbal isn't going to be as smooth as the stabilization, I don't mind it too much whilst I'm walking and talking if it means I'm going to get crisper footage. It doesn't look horrendous and the camera shake is so minimal. I'm also going to have to use a gimbal anyway when I use ND filters, and Freewell actually have some ND filters available now for the Action 3. They sent me some, and so I'll put a link in the description to where you can get those. The other thing is that I might actually go for shooting in wide rather than standard, because even though standard looks more normal in terms of less distortion, from what I saw, wide just looked better in terms of the quality of the footage anyway. So if I'm in nature or somewhere which is quite open and wide, you're not really going to see that distortion so much. So yeah, I'll definitely look at using wide more in that situation, for now anyway. So there definitely seems to be an issue, and I really hope that a firmware update is going to improve it, because when the footage is good and on point, it looks really good, and it's kind of the biggest thing that lets the camera down at the moment, because everything else is I really like it. And yeah, so hopefully a firmware update is going to do the job. But anyway, hope this video was useful for you. If it was, do give it a like and subscribe if you want to see more videos, because I do have more videos coming out about the Action 3, but also the Hero 11 if that is something that you're interested in as well. And I did a review on that, so check that out. But thanks for watching and catch you next time.